Hello everyone, George here, and I don't know about you, but it's time to model Fox. No, I'm taking a tiny bit of a break from Foxy. We are going to make our level look a little bit better. So this is a snapshot of when I was playing the game earlier, and as you can see, checkerboard patterns are quite, well, they're everywhere. They're on the walls, they're on the floor, and between that is some gray stuff and some red stuff. We need to make that happen in our level because right now I haven't done a darn thing for it. So let's go over and take a look in Unity and you can see how boring our walls actually are. So let's jump into Maya LT, cut up our walls and make things look a little bit better. Rough layout, floor 4. Here we are. This is our layout. I don't even think I put Pirates Cove in here yet, so that's going to be a problem. But for the most part, what we need to deal with is the fact that the borders on most of these areas seem to have a checkerboard pattern across the center. Well, for the most part, the checkerboard pattern is everywhere throughout the entire installation. So we need to make that. That's going to be in Photoshop. There's some nice reflection, some gloss going on over here. And then on the bathroom areas, it's cut off in half there and goes on inside. But anyway, we still need the checkerboard pattern because we can reuse that over and over and over again. We're going to do that in lovely old Photoshop. All right, let's make a new texture. Let's make this 4096 because that's higher res than we're actually going to use. And let us hit Control and apostrophe to get a grid going here. And let's make a grid of cells. So let's grab, let's see, rectangle tool and just start rectangling things out. So that's not the color I want. I want a very dark color. So let's go with, let's see, someone else. Someone close to black, but not quite black. Don't want to use all the way white, don't want to use all the way black, want to use something somewhere in between. And let's flip your color value as well now. So let's go to you and pick somewhere up there. Okay? Now that we have the two of them done, we can grab both of them and start playing with stuff. So let's grab, I'm trying to think, if I group you now, let's grab you, let's call you dark. Let's call you light and just start popping it on down where you need to be. There we go, and there we go. So now we got a little quadrant done. If I hadn't screwed it up, let's try that again, and there we go. So there's one little bit done. So my thought is bringing this into Mindtex and making a bump map out of it, or normal map out of it, or height map, whatever. And I might be able to do that just by blurring the edges of this thing, and then I wouldn't have to do any real work. So let's do a test on this by grabbing, so this is one group. Let's just keep grabbing the groups and moving them to their positions. Copying, I'm holding Alt and Control, or excuse me, Alt and Shift to do this. I'm gonna grab all of you and group you together. And then move you down, down, and down. And I am going to put a little bit of noise on top of the entire thing. So noise, add noise, could not do that because the layer is blank. So let's come over here, pick a neutral gray, fill it, and then do filter, noise, add noise. And let's do Gaussian, monochromatic. We don't need, yeah, we'll do monochromatic. And then now let's just blur that noise up a bit. So filter, blur, and let's blur it some more. Not too much though, just a bit. And then now let's overlay this on top. There we go. Just so we have some kind of difference between everything. It's really not going to show up that much. Let's do a file, save as, go to FNAF, textures. Actually, let's make a new folder called tests. I'm going to put that under textures. And under there, we're going to do checkerboard, because I don't know what this is going to come out like. It's the PSD. Let's do a PNG now. Save and OK. And I'm interested in bringing this into Mindtex and just seeing what it does with it. Okay, so within Mindtex, let's go to Model, and let's go to Box. And see what we have going on here. So you can see the indent and the outdent, which isn't really what I want. This might be better off creating a height map instead and using a couple different techniques to make this really work properly. So I don't want the big shapes to influence what's going on here. I really do want it to be just the edges of this. So let's tweak things a bit. And the dark ones are still going inwards. And even if we invert that and make it the opposite, it's still not what I want. Even let's pop the intensity. You can see what's going on with the intensity. How one feels like it's more above than the other, and that's not interesting at all. So what I think I'm going to do is that'll be the diffuse texture there. What I want to do now is get rid of the noise, grab all of you, copy you, and rasterize you, merge layers into one group. And let's do Control I. Let's turn everything off, actually. So what I really just want to do is create lines going through each one. And there's probably a lot of different ways I can do this. Let's try one way. Let's go to Filter, Color Range, Select, and keep the fuzziness low. And on that, I'm going to hide every opposite element. And then let's go to Stroke now. And now I've stroked each one of these elements. I'm going to do a stroke that's on the center line of this. And I'm going to make that stroke, I don't know, gray, somewhere in between the two colors. Now that I have that, I'm going to rasterize the layer itself. So let's do right click. Actually, let's get rid of, let's rasterize it first. Let's do apply. That's good. Now let's do a filter, blur, and blur a little bit better. What I want to do is blur these elements together a bit. So the stroke is still being applied. I don't want that. I want the stroke to actually be applied to this. So let's grab both of these and rasterize them together. Rasterizing the layer style. Okay, now I'm going to go to filter, blur, and blur this thing. Okay, good. Now I'm going to save this thing out as a height map. Wait, no, I don't want a height map, do I? What do I want to do? I want to take this and invert this one and do a Control L and make it so that they're all white, right? I really just want the lines. The lines are going to be what I want to go and indent inward. And that's what I'm trying to gain here, by the way. And the fact that they're not perfect is I'm fine with that. That's life. No tile layer is going to do a good job on this. Let's do height. And go back to Mindtex and let's load in, let's do new, no, and let's do open height map in this one. So there's our height map now. Let's put this on a model that makes sense, so a box maybe, or just a plane. Plane's fine. And there we go. That's what we have so far. I don't know what it's going to look like tiling yet. That could be a problem. But let's just play around with this for a second. So at least I've got the indents that I want. I do still want the higher stuff more prominent. So there we go. So that's our bump map. Let's save this out as a test. Let's do PNG. And height, let's do N for normal, enter. And you know what, I kind of want to have my gloss map as well. I don't want the in-between areas to have any kind of really gloss or specularity at all. That's the grout in between them. So let's do a lot of contrast to those elements, a lot of contrast, lower the brightness overall, a lot of contrast. Brighten it a little bit more, I guess. Well, that's too much. And let's also go to our gloss channel, and that's reflections. So obviously reflections should occur on the floor, so we'll pop them up and we'll keep our contrast very high, but be careful about what we're doing here. Let's make this bigger. There we go, that's better. I don't want a ton of reflection. And that's good. So let's go to Save All Maps. Let's do PNG. And let's just save this out here. And I'm going to do this with a 2 on it. Now let's bring this in. So there we go, because it's going to create the diffuse one as well. So there's our height map, our normal map, and so forth. So let's apply this to a surface and bring it into Unity and see what actually happens. So actually file, new scene, save. Bring in a plane, a flat plane, because that's going to... No, let's bring in a cube, frame up, W, D, bring it to the bottom, and X it up, and scale it up as well. And let's make it longer, something like that. And I'm going to just go ahead and invert things. So mesh, reverse, F8, G it. There we go. Turn on backface culling. So generally what it's going to be like is, let's just delete the roof. The roof doesn't matter. Let's go to F8, object mode, and let's do some insert edge loop tools. And let's bring out the tool area. So pop that somewhere, I don't know, maybe under the or above the outliner. There we go. Let's do how many cuts? Let's see, 4 and 4 going that way. And then we're going to need a cut along this. And then let's do edge loop, and you know what, we didn't need 4, did we? We really only needed maybe 3. So let's try that again. Even 3 is too much, let's do 2. 2 cuts, scale them together, and those are going to be the areas where we have our texture applied. Okay, so face, let's grab all of you, and let's do a disconnect, extract. Let's grab the floor as well. Let's use the new modeling tools to help us out with that though. So let's go to modeling toolkit, which I actually am starting to learn and love because it reminds me of some of the stuff you can do in 3D Studio Max, like angle selection. Do an angle of 5 and that selects the entire floor for me in one set. Now that I have the floor, let's extract that as well, extract faces. We're going to turn that off now. So constraint off. Alright, so we have our separate components. This and this, this and this are going to get new materials. So let's go to right-click New Material and create a Fong and call this Checkerboard M. M, not whatever that character was. Bring in our checkerboard stuff now. So we'll go up to textures and tests, and checkerboard PNG. There we go. And these guys came along for the ride for some reason. Looks like I messed up my extraction a little bit. So let's try that again. Right click, go to face. It's just going to be easier for me to do this, isn't it? Right click and extract faces. There we go. Grab you and right click and apply our existing Fong to you. For the rest of you, though, you are going to get a planar mapping, and the planar mapping needs to be in the right alignment. So we're going to do y-axis and apply and just start G-ing everything up. Oh, you know what? That's a problem. Let's go to UVs and planar and do not keep the width and the height ratio because we're slightly off. That's the problem. That didn't work, did it? UVs, planar, no. Apply, close. There we go. G, 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 G. G, 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 G. And then when we actually use this, we'll take the time to make sure stuff's actually square. This is just a test to bring into Unity. And then we'll grab you guys and basically do the same thing except from the proper direction, which we'll do as the, what, Z direction for now. Apply. Oh, and we do want to keep the proportions on these ones. Turn around. Grab you. Sorry this video isn't a how-to. This is more of a how do we make this actually work properly. Let's do apply. Apply. There we go. G, 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 G. Because I've got to figure this stuff out too. The FNAF series is, for the most part, completely on the fly with me not testing anything. Okay, now we've got this big old object. We can bring this into Unity. Let's go ahead and grab everything and group it into a test scene. So let's call this test underscore floor and modify. Let's change our, we don't want to, we want outliner, open it up. I didn't change the name. Let's call this test underscore floor, test floor group. Go in here, edit, delete all by type, history, there we go. We have test floor and test floor group, so let's go ahead and get rid of this group. Modify, edit, ungroup. Let's do side checkers. Let's do walls bottom, and then we'll go to the floor, and finally floor or walls top. Great. Once again, edit, delete all by type, history. Let's do a test folder, tests, and a new folder called checkerboard floor. Just don't want to confuse this with assets that we've already created that are actually meant to be here. Let's do checkerboard floor. Okay, great. So that should now be over in Unity. Let's cancel this, close that, move this on out of the way, and it's going to bring that asset in for us. Okay, so file, new scene, and let's make this scene look, no, let's leave it the way it is at the moment. Let's go to tests, checkerboard floor. We have our FBMs. Let's import our assets. So we're going to import all those different textures that we created under test, textures, tests. And we're going to want, let's see, we're going to need to edit some of these, but I'm really interested in the bump map. And let's just start with the bump map first. Let's grab the floor and bring it into the scene and scale it up to a factor of probably 100 is usually what I'm off by. There we are. Let's check out its material. Animator, blah, 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 blah. Checkerboard floor. Let's grab you right there and mess with you and go into our textures. And once again, put you into our normal map area. Not noticing any issues yet. I almost feel like the normal map could be a little bit more normally. Let's kill this light and bring in a directional one. So let's go to game object, light, point light source, and bring it up. And nuke the directional light. Bring you down maybe. There we go. Now we can really see the sheen. Not really seeing any issues that are popping up for me. If anything, I want it to be a little bit more pronounced. So I should jump into Mindtex and increase that. Okay, so back in here, let's jump into normal and intensity and pop that up a bit. I'm also going to go ahead and let the lower levels increase a bit. Still keep the noise up there, but that should be more than enough. And let's save this one out specifically. Back in Unity, let's go ahead and delete this, re-import it. Of course, this is still the wrong texture type. It should be a normal map, so let's do that. But there we are. Now I can really see the definition between the tiles. For the gloss and the specular part, though, we're going to need to bring them into Photoshop to work properly. So let's close out the checkerboard portion, and let's bring open those files. And we need to combine the specular and the gloss together into one. So here's my spec map, and here is my gloss map. Perfect. Place. And really what I want to do is, this needs to be the alpha channel of this. So if we go over to channels, let's add a new channel, which is our alpha. Control A, Control C, everything there. And Control V that there. And get rid of this channel now. and that will be our alpha. So let's save this on out. We're currently in the mask mode, which is why we see all that red stuff going on. Don't worry about it. File, save as. We're just going to call this spec. To spec. So coming back over here, right click, let's go to import new asset, spec, grab our floor material and move that over to not metallic. I want to go to standard with specular setup and move that to spec right there and decrease our specular. Whoa. Yeah, it didn't work very well now, did it? Too much spec, too much reflection, because now the white looks just like the black, and it's reflecting the sky, by the way, and all the other elements in the skybox. You would normally be using reflection probes for something like this. So let's go back and take a look at what we actually have going on here. So screw this. I'm going to delete that. I'm going to work the old way that I like, which is file, open, and let's grab the gloss. And I am going to darken the hell out of this. Okay, Control A, Control Shift C, come over here, add a new area, paste that in, Control D. I'm also going to, I messed up, we're going to darken that a lot. And now you can't really see anything. So the one part, if we turn this off by hitting Shift on it, is the spec map, which is the specular highlights, where it should be highlighted. I'm actually going to make this more defined. I don't want highlights in the grout. But the other side of it is this map, which is how glossy it should be. And there should be absolutely no gloss on the grout parts, or where the seams really between the areas. But there should be a little bit of reflection on the other areas, and I'm going to try to capture that. Okay. Let's go ahead and save this on out. So file, save as spec. Go back to Unity now. Delete that one. And import again. Import new asset. And find our spec map. There it is. And much better. We get our specular highlights where we expect them to be, but at the same time our reflections where we want them to be as well. Okay, I think that was a successful test. So in the next video, we're going to apply this to our actual scene and start adding it to it. So I'll see you in the next video. George out. So long. Goodbye.